Hello, everyone. Welcome to Court with Krissy. A priest, a nun, and a rich lazy boy with a lead foot walk into traffic court. What do they get? Their own episode of Court with Krissy. I hope you like it. The court is now in session.
I have one formal hearing, which we will start with, and then moving into the regular docket. This is a matter of Michael Bovinet, Bovinet. Is Mr. Bovinet here? Or anyone on their behalf?
Good morning, Your Honor. Mr. Bovinet is here, and I'm also his counsel. For the record, David Canine, last name spelled C-A-N-I-N-E, P61828, on behalf of the defendant. Thank you.
All right. Okay, are you ready to proceed, counsel? I see Ms. Brooker is here.
I am. Thank you.
All right. So, Ms. Brooker, your first witness.
Deputy Sturley, I think he is here. I'm not sure if his video's on or he's having tech issues, but I see him on here.
All right.
I am here. I'm having video issues right now.
Okay. All right. If you can get it going, great. But if not, I do recognize the voice. If you could raise your right hand, please. And do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
All right. Go ahead, counsel.
Deputy, can you state your name for the record and spell your last name?
Name is Deputy Keith Sturley. Spelling is S-T-E-R-L-Y.
What is your occupation?
I'm a current road deputy at Otsego County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you held that position?
I have been a road deputy for approximately 6 years.
And are you licensed as a law enforcement officer in the state of Michigan?
Yes, I am.
Have you had any training regarding speed measurement?
Yes, I am certified to run the radar units that are issued in our cars.
Okay. And have you had continuing education each year in order to do that?
Yes.
Okay. And as of June 3rd of this year, were you up to date on all of your training and certification?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Were you on duty on June 3rd this year?
Yes, I was.
And were you patrolling an area near Old State Road?
Yes, I was.
Did you conduct a traffic stop on a vehicle in that vicinity?
Yes, I did.
And can you describe what type of vehicle it was?
It was a gray sports car. It would be a 2024 Porsche 911.
And what brought that vehicle to your attention?
I was sitting stationary radar on Old State, and the radar unit read over 100 miles an hour, which when I captured the speed, it was 124 miles an hour.
Okay, let me go back for a moment. You said it was a radar unit?
Correct. I was sitting stationary radar, and I observed a gray and color vehicle proceeding on Old State eastbound at a high rate of speed.
Okay, before you go into that, was that device in your vehicle, the radar device, the speed measurement device, was that in good working order on June 3rd?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And what were the road conditions on that day?
It was clear, dry.
Okay. Let's see. And was that device verified at the beginning of your shift?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And had it been calibrated as well?
Yes.
Okay. Was it also tested at the end of your shift?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And was the vehicle within that you just described within the operational area of the beam at the time you took the speed measurement unit?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And you indicated you clocked it at a certain amount. I'm sorry, could you just say that again?
It was 124 miles per hour.
What did you do next?
I placed my patrol vehicle in drive, came out onto Old State, and initiated my overhead lights and proceeded to try to catch up to said vehicle.
Okay. Were you able to catch up to that vehicle?
No, I wasn't. I had another unit that was able to catch up to that vehicle.
And was there a reason you couldn't catch up to it?
My vehicle tops out at 124 miles an hour, and this vehicle was pulling away from me like I was sitting still.
Okay. And was it another sheriff's department vehicle that was able to catch up with it?
It was another sheriff's deputy as well as a DNR unit.
Okay. And you conducted the traffic stop. Did you handle the traffic stop?
Yes, after I was able to get to the location where the other deputy had stopped the vehicle, I did conduct a traffic stop from there.
Okay. And how far away from where the area was where you first clocked his speed was the traffic stop?
15 to 20 miles away.
Okay. And did you identify the driver of the vehicle?
I did identify the driver.
And what was his name?
Michael D. I'm going to Bobinet.
Okay. And are you able to see the screen on here?
Yes, I am.
Do you see that individual here on the YouTube screen?
I do not see the individual at all.
Okay.
Let me scroll over.
Well, let me inquire, Mr. Canine, do
Yes.
you stipulate that that the screen I see as Michael Bovinet is in fact the individual that Deputy Sterling is referencing?
I do, yes.
Okay, all right. I'll accept that then. Thank you.
I do now see also Mr. Bovinet here on the screen.
Okay. And did you issue him a citation?
Yes, I did.
And what did you issue him a citation for?
I issued him a citation for 124 miles an hour in a 55-mile-an-hour zone.
Okay. Did you have any further interaction with him after that?
Not after I issued the citation.
Okay. Did you have any conversations with him when you issued the ticket to him?
Yes, I did advise him that I was using my discretion as a law enforcement officer instead of placing him under arrest for reckless driving as well as child endangerment because he did have his teenage daughter in the vehicle. I was opting to cite him for the speed instead of arresting him and going that route.
Okay. Did he make any statements regarding the speed of his vehicle to you?
He made a statement that he did not know how fast he was going. I did speak with him in regards to that he was pulling away from me and I knew my speed, how fast I was going. And I did, he did make a statement as well as the top speed of that vehicle was over 200 miles an hour from the factory.
Okay. Judge, I don't have any other questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Canine.
Thank you. Deputy Sterling, what materials did you review today prior to the hearing, if any?
I reviewed the ticket as well as my daily.
If you could tell me what's a daily, please.
Daily is what we record our daily activities on.
Okay. And do you have an independent recollection of this incident?
Do I have an independent of what occurred that day?
Yes.
I do remember what occurred that day. Yes.
Okay, thanks. What road specifically was my client traveling on when the citation?
When the citation was issued or when the infraction happened?
I guess let me back up. I'm sorry. Can you walk me through what roads he was on?
When I first observed your client's vehicle traveling, it was on Old State Road, which is near the southern area of Otsego County.
Okay. And is there, when you first saw him, he was on Old State Road. Is there a post limit on that road, officer?
Is there a posted speed limit?
Yes.
I believe so. I would have to double check.
Okay. If it was posted, hypothetically, what would be the speed limit?
55 miles per hour.
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. 55, is that right?
55 miles per hour, sir.
Okay. And let me ask you, in the absence of a posted speed limit, what is the speed limit?
55 miles per hour in a non-residential area.
Okay. And are you the actual officer that pulled my client over? I missed that part of your testimony earlier, forgive me. Or was it someone else?
Another deputy was able to make contact with your client further down the road from where I was at the time.
Okay. And do you know how many officers were ultimately involved?
How many officers were ultimately involved? It was myself, and then Deputy Cates, as well as DNR Conservation Officer Kyle Cherry.
Do you know which one was the first one to pull him over?
I believe it was Deputy Cates.
Okay. Do you know if Deputy Cates drew his service weapon?
I do not know, sir.
Okay. In your opinion, was my client evading or traveling allegedly too fast?
He was traveling too fast.
Okay. And you're aware that my client was charged under MCL 257.628?
Correct.
Can I ask you, officer, what is the standard under that statute for violating it?
The violating the speed limit.
Well, I looked at the statute this morning. I didn't see an actual speed limit in there. So what is the standard for violating that statute?
The standard, I do not know the standard. All I know is that I had clocked your client going 124 miles an hour in a 55-mile-an-hour zone.
Okay. So how is that statute referenced in the citation? Is that something that automatically occurs?
It automatically generates when I type in speed exceeding posted speed limit non-freeway. That's what automatically generates on our system.
Okay, exceeding posted speed limit non-residential. That's correct.
Not non-freeway.
Non-freeway. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's what it states on this citation.
Okay. And your testimony earlier was that you had tested the radar both before your shift and after. Is that accurate?
Correct.
And can I ask you, what does that involve exactly?
It involves me turning on the unit and then hitting the self-test button on our controls, and it goes through an internal test, and then it'll say on our screen pass or fail.
Have you had instances where it said fail?
No, sir.
Okay. And I'm not being smart when I ask this question, forgive me, but other than your testimony here today, what evidence do you have that my client was exceeding the speed limit? For example, do you have pictures of the radar or a printout of the radar?
I do not have that, but I did have a ride along that day who was a civil deputy, and he was sitting in the passenger seat and observed everything that I observed. He's currently in a jury courtroom right now doing his duties as a bailiff.
Okay, understood. All right, I don't have any further questions. Thank you, Deputy Sterling.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Brooker, well, actually, I had and maybe I missed this, Deputy. When you first saw him, were you stationary or were you moving?
I was a stationary radar on sitting on the south side of Old State near Salem Road.
All right. And what direction was Mr. Bovinet going?
He was heading eastbound on Old State. I was facing westbound.
All right. Did he appear to you, and I realize you saw your radar, but did he appear to you to be going at an excessive rate of speed as well?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Ms. Brooker, do you have any other questions for Deputy Sterling?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Canine, any other questions for Deputy Sterling?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Deputy. Ms. Brooker, any further witnesses?
No, Judge.
Mr. Canine, any witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor, I would call my client, Michael Bovinet, please.
Mr. Bovinet, if you'd raise your right hand, please. And do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead, counsel.
Mr. Bovinet, generally, can you tell me what happened the day that you were issued the citation, please?
Yeah, we were out on a drive. We went and visited a lake. Was driving just about, probably about a half a mile from my mother's house, visiting her, and was just driving down the street and about got ran off the road by this officer, and I didn't really know what was going on at this time, and I pull over. He's got his he draws his handgun on me, and he's screaming at me, yelling at me. I've got my window down, and he tells me to put my hands up. I've got him up, and he opens up my door and tells me to get out. And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. He didn't really say anything up at this point. And I can't get out of the car. I've got my seatbelt on. So I asked him if I could take my seatbelt off. He allows me to do that. And I get out and asked me what's going on. I said, dude, I have no idea. You're the one that stopped me. A few minutes later, another officer showed up and he asked me the same thing. Do you know what's going on? I said, dude, I have no idea. I'm just going home. Well, they tell me that there's a gentleman that wants to speak to me. That's what they say. It's about 20 minutes later, this officer shows up and he just asked me all these, what were you doing? This is and that. And that's basically how that portion happened. But up until that point, I didn't know what was going on.
Okay. And your mother lives in the area, is that accurate?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
And you were visiting her?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
And as far as you know, everything on your car was working correctly?
To my knowledge, yes, sir.
And do you believe you were exceeding the speed limit?
Over 55, I'm sure I was. Everybody on that street was.
Were you going 124 miles an hour?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any further questions for my client.
All right, thank you, Ms. Brooker.
Mr. Bovenet, were you going 80 miles an hour?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Were you going 80 miles an hour?
At what point? I'm not sure when we're speaking of, and when this
When the
occurred.
officers were pursuing you, how fast were you going?
I don't know, because I didn't know that an officer was pursuing me. When I got pulled over, I was probably doing about 35 miles an hour.
You were going 35 miles an hour when you were stopped by the police. That's your testimony here today?
When I was pulled over by the officer, that's about what I was doing. Yes. There was traffic there.
Okay. Where were you going at that moment on Old State Road? Where were you headed?
I wasn't stopped on Old State Road. I was going back.
When you were driving on Old State Road, where were you going?
I was heading back to my mother's house. We just visited. I apologize. I'm not from the area, but I think it was, is it Storm Lake, I believe it was.
Okay.
So we were heading home.
Okay. Do you think if someone was going over 100 miles an hour on Old State Road, that it would be a safety issue that would be very concerning to law enforcement?
Is a safety that I'm not sure of. I mean,
you're not sure if that's a safety issue?
Well, why? I mean, I would, I guess.
All right. I don't have any other questions.
All right. Excuse me. Mr. Bovenet, do you remember driving on Old State Road?
Yes, sir.
How fast were you going on Old State Road?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I was flying down the road with other people with other traffic.
All right, Mr. Canine, any further questions for Mr. Bovenet?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, any further witnesses?
No, thank you.
Deputy Sterling, I had just a couple of questions for you. You still there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
And of course, you're still under oath. You saw the vehicle going by you, and then apparently Deputy Cates stopped the vehicle, and you got there sometime later. Was that the same vehicle that went by you that was stopped on the road by Deputy Cates?
Yes, sir, it was the same vehicle that went by me that Deputy Cates stopped.
All right. Ms. Brooker, any further questions for Deputy Sterling?
No.
Mr. Canine, any further questions for Deputy Sterling?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. I think that concludes the proof's argument, Ms. Brooker.
We just asked you to find him responsible, Judge. Deputy Sterling's testified his speed measurement device was in good working order, and he clocked him at 124 miles an hour. He wasn't able to catch up with him. His statements that Mr. Bovenet went probably another 15 or 20 miles line up with Mr. Bovenet's testimony that it took Deputy Sterling a few minutes to reach the area once he was stopped by Deputy Cates. To be honest, I find Mr. Bovenet's testimony a little bit evasive. I'm very familiar with Old State Road. I drive it multiple times a day. People do go too fast on it. They don't go 124 miles an hour on it. unless you're really trying to speed, and there are people that drive too fast on it all the time. So I would just ask the court to find him responsible. I don't think there's been any testimony that has found the speed measurement device to not be credible or in good working order. So that's the testimony we have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Canine?
Respectfully, I don't think my client was being evasive. I just think he said he's not familiar with the area. There's a difference. Given that Officer Sterling testified, but there's no other evidence that's been offered. And I know truth goes to the weight of the evidence, but we essentially have a he said, she said situation here. And I don't believe that the state has met its burden in that instance. So thank you.
All right, these cases are preponderance of the evidence. The court does find that preponderance of the evidence shows a speed of 124 miles an hour based on the radar device, and as well as the visual sighting of the visual wouldn't give the exact speed, but it was at a high rate of speed according to Deputy Sterling. But the court does find that Mr. Bovinet is responsible for speeding 124 in a 55 zone. We'll find you responsible. The fine on that, sir, is, I believe, $199. Are you able to take care of that today? Yeah, it's $199. Are you able to take care of that today, Mr. Bovinet? You're still muted.
So, yes, sir. Yes, I can.
All right. If you have a pen handy, I'll give you the number to call to do that.
Yes, Your Honor.
989.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Attorney next.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah. Okay, there you're in. One. All right. Any questions? I'll holler right over here. Okay, thank you.
Good morning. If you can see and hear these proceedings, could you please give the court a thumbs up? Thank you so much. Welcome to the 44th District Court. I am Magistrate William Burek. If I'm speaking to you at this time, it is the date and time set for an informal hearing. The court is going to explain that protocol to us all as a group, and then we will undertake the cases one at a time. So to begin, an informal hearing is civil in nature. It is not a criminal case. Nobody goes to jail today at the end of their traffic ticket. However, it is considered serious enough that a sworn and certified Michigan peace officer elected to issue the citation on the date in question. You will be required at the appropriate time to make a selection from one of three options related to your own rights. Any motorist in this context has an absolute right to simply admit responsibility to the citation. The court will attach the scheduled fine and that will close the case. You also have a right, if you wish, to admit responsibility, but with an explanation that you believe mitigates the circumstances of the offense. Your third option is to deny responsibility. That is your right and your privilege. If you deny responsibility, the court will swear both parties under oath. The officer will testify first as they bear the burden of proof. It will then be the motorist's turn to testify, tell the court anything they wish the court to know, display any exhibits for today, and then the court will be required to make a finding of responsible or not responsible based upon the civil burden of proof, which is a mere preponderance of the evidence, also known as the featherweight test. So different from a criminal case, which requires that a burden of guilt beyond a reasonable doubt be met. A finding of liability in a civil case only requires a quantified 50.1% burden to be shown to the court. With that, I will excuse all but one of you back to the waiting room. If you are finding yourself waiting, please put some thought behind which of those options you wish to exercise. Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling case number 24B like Berkeley E02223. This is people of the city of Berkeley versus the servants of the sisters, I believe.
Sisters Servants of the Immaculate Heart of Mary.
Sister servants of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome again. Who is the individual who wishes to speak on behalf of the order?
I am. I'm Sister
Very
Barb.
well. I'm sorry?
My name is Barbara Beasley.
Great. Ms. Beasley, you were present earlier when you heard the court explain the nature of an informal hearing. Is that true?
That's true.
And at that time, the court also explained that you would be required on behalf of your organization to make a selection from one of three options related to your own rights, correct?
Correct.
So the citation before the court indicates that on June the 7th of this year at approximately 7:45 in the evening, a 2010 Mercury Milan black in color was parked upon Cummings at or near 12 Mile Road in the city of Berkeley. And it was parked in a fire lane or within 15 feet of a fire hydrant. The remarks from Officer Larson, who has joined us this morning, is posted fire lane. You have the three options of the court mentioned earlier. You may admit responsibility in this matter. You may admit with an explanation that you believe mitigates, or you have every right to deny responsibility, and we will swear the parties and take testimony. What would you like the court to do for you today, Ms.?
I would like to deny responsibility, Your Honor.
Very well. Would the parties please raise their right hands? Do you all solemnly swear the testimony you shall give before this court shall be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you very much. Officer Larson has the burden of proof. Please proceed.
Okay. On the 6th of June of this year at approximately 7:44 p.m., I was dispatched to a parking complaint. There were cars parked on the west side of Cummings Avenue in the city of Berkeley near 12 Mile, which is a posted fire lane. The 2010 Mercury Milan black in color was parked in the fire lane along with others and was cited as such.
When you said along with others, there were other vehicles in the fire lane as well?
Yep, there were approximately 6 cars. They were all cited. The Mercury Milan was one of them. It was posted. They're not new signs.
Okay. Do you have any idea how long the signage has been there?
I do not.
Okay. How long have you been with the department?
I've been an officer for a year.
Okay. And in your experience for the year in Berkeley, you've always known the sign to be there?
Absolutely.
Okay. Was there an event going on that evening?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. And you had no idea who any of those vehicles plated to. You just ran the registration plate numbers through the database in your vehicle, and that generated the parking citations, correct?
Correct. They were parked illegally in the fire lane.
Mm-hmm.
I ran the plate. I wrote the ticket. There is no driver, so the driver was not issued. It was the car.
And so you weren't, as a department or as a member of the executive branch, you weren't picking on anybody?
Absolutely not. They all got tickets.
All right. Thank you very much. Anything else you wish to provide the court by way of testimony can be made through rebuttal. So now I believe it was Ms. Beasley.
Correct.
Ms. Beasley, it's your turn. What would you like this court to know?
Well, I'd like you to know that I brought a picture to show this, but there was no signage. I had pulled into the parking space behind the storefront, the church actually area, and it looked pretty full. So I pulled out and parked along the side of the street. There was nothing there indicating, excuse me, that this was a fire lane. I have a picture of this I would like to show the court.
Sure.
Okay. I don't know what you can see.
Okay.
How do I
If
do
we
that?
could move that.
This way, this way.
There we go. That's
Okay.
better.
Sure.
The
Okay.
issue is I don't have an officer with you, and the filter is on that unit. So all I have is a bunch of blur. Could either yourself or Father call one of the bailiffs over to try to get that filter taken down? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So there was clearly no fire hydrant anywhere to be seen no sign anywhere to be seen. And I think that's what the photograph will show. So there was another car parked there, and I parked there as well. And other people were coming in for an event at the church.
Harold, can you try to take that filter off? And if you aren't able to do that, could you run that picture into the courtroom
I don't
that
know.
Ms. Beasley has? That might be easier. Is that okay with you folks if I take a look at that? Thank you.
Thank you.
I can speak to the fact that you were there for
Thank you, officer. Okay. As obviously Officer Larson is a party to the case, I'm going to hold this up. And Officer Larson, just so that you're seeing this, just for the sake of its presence as an exhibit, can you see this photograph clearly?
I can.
And does that accurately depict the street scene as you recall it?
There were other cars there and it was marked fire lane, but that is the street, yes.
So this is the street, in fact, that we're talking about?
I mean, without seeing a street sign, I
Okay.
can't 100% say that it's Cummings.
I understand. Okay. All right. Thank you. Mrs. Beasley, the court has reviewed your exhibit. Can you please continue your testimony?
Well, I parked there. I went to the service, came out. Father Charles kind of saw me to the car. It was dark. I got in the car and I drove away. I didn't see the ticket until I got home. It had been raining. It was pretty difficult for me to make out what it all said, but I could read the part where it said that I was parked in a fire lane and that within 15 feet of a fire hydrant. And none of that was in my visual. None of that is in the picture. None of that was something I saw. And there was another car parked there. It just seemed like a natural place to park. Father Charles was kind enough to walk me there, so he offered to come just to kind of verify that that is where I was parked on Cummings. So I guess that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Go ahead.
So Sister Barbara Beasley was invited to an event at Christ the Good Shepherd Church, which is the old doll hospital. And it was quite a sizable event in that there were about 100 people that came. Sister Barbara Beasley was a participant in the ordination to the episcopacy. And we tried to guide people to park where it was appropriate to park.
Sure.
And so, yeah, so that's why I just wanted to say that I didn't see the signage there either, because I wouldn't have even guided Sister to park there, right? So, yeah. So there was an event. There were lots of people there. We tried to do our due diligence in being able to have people park further south of where the church is,
Sure.
or in the jewelry shop parking lot, or at teachable moments, or behind the church itself.
Okay. And you said the church occupies the former space of the doll hospital?
Correct.
Okay. And the doll hospital fronts 12 Mile Road?
Correct.
Okay. So you didn't, I mean, there wasn't valet parking, and obviously, Father, you didn't park Sister Beasley's car, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you don't personally know exactly where her car was located?
Oh, I do know where it was located after the ordination, which is it was about 2 hours, right? So it was dark going outside.
Okay.
I didn't want to go to her car by herself. So
Okay.
I walked with her out to where the car was. And
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And you didn't make note of the presence or absence of any fire lane signs yourself?
Correct.
Are you aware that, since you probably frequent that address, are you aware of whether or not there are fire lane signs there?
Well, I wasn't up until today, if this is indeed a fire lane. So guess what? It's not going to happen again, you know, with people parking there.
All right, but you can neither confirm nor deny that the signage is there.
I have never seen the signage there.
Okay.
Yep. So I can confirm that.
Is there anything else the respondent, Sister Beasley and or father, you wish the court to know?
No.
All right. Any rebuttal testimony, Officer Larson?
No.
Okay. The court is going to be frank in the sense that you're putting it in a tough spot. The burden of proof in a civil matter is a mere preponderance of the evidence. And while the court is convinced by a mere preponderance of the evidence that the car was in fact parked in a prohibited fashion, at this time, the court is going to waive all fines and costs. So there will be no charge to Sister Beasley personally, or to the order, or to the church. However, as your colleague, father points out, it'll never happen again, correct?
Amen.
All right, thank you. Go in
Thank-
peace.
Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you.